Hey, welcome back. I was finally able to take this out. For those of you who don't know, this is actually a AR-15 chambered in 300 Blackout. I've done a little bit of modifications to it since I built it. It still does have the Magpul angled forearm, Magpul M-bus sights, and what I ended up doing was I ended up moving the rear sight as far back as I could just to get a little bit of a better sight picture. Other than that, it's dead balls accurate. The muzzle brake does exactly what it's supposed to. The other things I did do is, if you notice right here, this is actually a K&S Precision Incorporated trigger group pin set. And it basically prevents the trigger the trigger pins from backing out. It gives it a little bit more of a better feel. And, it works beautiful. I also did add a bigger trigger guard, and that feels so much better. Other than that, it's just the way I left it last time. I ran about 400 rounds through it throughout a week and a half. Not even a week. Went out one Sunday, shot 150 plus rounds. Went out the Sunday after Mother's Day and ran another 200 rounds or so. I don't know, I lost count. The range I go to is actually really good. I had a lot of different looks on this. No sooner I say it's a 300 Blackout, a lot of the guys just go, what? They don't know what to say. It does have a very nice trigger. It has a very smooth break, very crisp break. At least now that I've actually done the trigger pins. The one thing I like about the K&S trigger pins is you actually have to add oil into them. Either oil or grease. I actually prefer grease. It actually lasts a little bit longer and provides a little less friction, especially after it gets worked in. So, other than that, I ran it out to about 100 yards and it performed flawless. Now, the one thing I like about the AR-15 series, or at least the mil-spec AR-15s, all of them, you can actually bore sight these things. Just by taking off the recoil pad. There's a little peephole. You take out the recoil pad, you take out the bolt, you put your optic on it, and you can actually bore sight them. So, that is actually really good to do. Saves a lot of time and a lot of ammo. So, that was definitely a plus. Other than that, it performed very well. I had not one hiccup with it. And, I know I was going to record it, but unfortunately, you know what? These last couple times I went out, it was more or less just for enjoyment. It wasn't for anything bad. It was just to get out and have fun. Do exactly what the sport is supposed to do. Let you go out and enjoy yourself. I know it sounds stupid, but hey, we all can't be perfect. Well, let's see. What else should I say about this? It is a straight AAC upper. The barrel is actually a 1 8 twist. It's a 30 caliber. Uses a 7.62 projectile and a cut down round 223 case. I mean, it's... The round itself is a chunky little round. It's accurate, or at least its ideal thing. Maximum is about 300 meters. The 147 grain rounds rounds I was actually using, they came out a little less than a 223. I want to say where they were trucking out at about 1,800 feet per second or something like that. So I mean, they came out motoring. I've actually still got ammo left over. I'm not going to be going out to the range for another couple months. Maybe a little sooner. Except I'm not going to be taking out a lot of the big bore stuff. So, the one thing I like about the 300 Blackout is if you have one chambered in 300 Blackout, you can use 300 Whisper ammo in it. You use standard AR-15 magazines. You use a standard AR-15 bolt. You know, technically all you'd have to do is change out the barrel, and you could do a 300 Blackout build. But I didn't feel like changing out any of my barrels, so you know what? It's just as easy for me to go out, pick up a brand new upper, do a little bit of a tactical style, and use it exactly for what it's worth. I'm still tossing around an idea as to what I want to do. I'm debating on either putting a red dot with a magnifier, just a straight red dot, or putting a piece of glass onto it. It all depends. I'm still twisting around those ideas. And yeah, I'm doing research on, you know, what I want to run. You know, considering most of the ranges around my area are all 100 yards or less. I know what you guys are saying, you know, where is the suppressor? Well, unfortunately, with the way my state laws work, in order for me to run a suppressor, I actually have to have this upper on a pre-band lower. Pre-band lowers in my state are a little too expensive. I have one, and, you know, I'm only going to have one for at least a little while. The lowers are between $700 to $1,000. So it's just as cheap for me to use a regular post-band lower, convert it out to be Connecticut legal. This is definitely going to be a work in progress. I want to see how it's going to end up throughout the time. This thing has performed very well. And, you know, I hope it stays this way. I'm roughly about $1,800 into it. Maybe a little bit more, I think. Yeah, somewhere right around there. And it's performed better than what I thought it was going to be. The round is actually really good. It comes trucking out at between... Depending on what load you're using, I want to say the range ammo I was using was coming out 1,800, 1,900 feet per second, something like that. So, I mean, it'll come out with a little bit of force. The recoil on it is actually really controllable. You're looking at, recoil-wise, if you're using a standard M4, chambered in 223-556, the recoil on that thing, you know as well as I do, is very light. It'll jump up very little, whereas the 300 Blackout, it'll jump up a little bit more. You'll have a little bit more muzzle rise. You'll feel a little bit more in the shoulder, but that's about it. Now, as for recoil with this, you've got to remember that the recoil is on a rifle or a pistol is due to caliber and weight of the weapon. This weapon is a lot lighter than a standard 223 5.56 16-inch barrel flat top. It's a lot lighter. It puts my M4 to shame, which is really sad. I love that thing. So, you know what? This is definitely going to be a little bit of a work in progress. Next time I take this out, I want to do a comparison between my M4 and the 300, and I want to see which one not only recoils more. I want to show the comparison between an M4 and a 300. You know, you're going from a 22 caliber to a 30 caliber. You know, these things, this definitely got me a lot of looks when I was at the range. The first time I took it out, actually had a couple of the range officers come up and ask me, you know, what's that chambered in? 300 Blackout. What? You know, it's more common to see a 50 caliber Barrett in my state than it is to see a rifle chambered in 300 Blackout. It's more common to see... I'm trying to think of something else. It's more common to see a 41 Magnum than a 300. You know, the high dollar weapons are more common than this. But you know what? This weapon is still in the experimental stage. It was accepted by SAMI, or at least the round was accepted by SAMI testing in 2009, 2010, somewhere right around there. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be a work in progress. The reason why I chose the 300 over another standard M4 is simply because, you know what? Brass is readily available for this. 223 brass is readily available if I can't find factory 300 Blackout brass. Cut down the brass about a ½ inch, neck it out to take a 7.62 projectile, a standard one. Now we already know that the AK and the SKS prefer a little bit of an oversized 7.62. So, you know what, this will take a standard 308 projectile and we call it a day. I've actually saved quite a bit of, or a lot of the brass, so that this way, if I do decide to get into reloading, you know, I have the brass readily available. Or I can play around with a load a little bit. You know, I want to try to come up, I want to read up a little bit more on who is reloading for these, and see if I can't find a really nice load for it. You know, the PNW Arms loads I was using and the gun ammo I used performed very well. I think out of all of them, the PNW Arms probably performed the best. And the first shots I took were all with match grade, so I know point blank it did exactly what it was supposed to. You know, the first shot was almost dead on. You know, you got to remember, at a short distance, you're going to have to use a little bit of Kentucky windage. Like a 223 bullet, the 300 Blackout isn't going to reach its full maximum height up until about 100 yard. You know, with the 223, it's more or less 200 meters. So, it's still going to be coming up just a little bit. So, you know, you got to aim up a couple inches to hit your mark, but it's still a very controllable rifle. Well, anyways, I actually got a rifle I got to clean, and you know, we'll go from there. So, anyways, I know I took up a little bit of your time. You know, hopefully, if you're watching this, you're a little interested in this rifle. You know, next time I take it out, you'll actually see me pulling the trigger on it. I would have done it, but past couple times I went out was just more or less for enjoyment. I went out with a couple friends. You know, we were we spend a lot of time joking and, playing around. So, anyways, let me get back to work. Remember this. Always be safe no matter what you're doing. So, until the next time, you have yourself a wonderful day.